It's all been leading up to this exact moment. A mic in my hand and unlimited time to talk about books. Hello everyone and welcome to Fatma's The Archives. I'm Fatma and I love talking about books. I've been making book content on Instagram and TikTok for a while now, but I knew that it would eventually end up with me posting YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong, the short format is fun and all, but one time I tried to make those yes, no, maybe videos, and my video ended up being like 10 minutes for 4 books, which is a lot. I love talking about books. It's my fault. So yeah, in order to give myself full freedom, I'm officially posting on YouTube. Hello, hi, thank you for clicking on this video. I didn't know what kind of video to start with. I figured that a 10-minute introduction of myself would be very boring and very self-centered. So instead, I decided to talk about some of the books that I really, really, really love. I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, even though I've been lacking in the sci-fi department lately. I read literary fiction, I read romance. Honestly, I'm not very picky when it comes to genres. If the book is good, I am gonna read it. The first book I'm gonna talk about is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L Wang. This is a standalone military fantasy about a family of swordsmen who live in this isolated, mountainous village in the corner of an empire where legendary warriors we can wield elemental powers like ice and water. Very Avatar The Last Airbender vibes. We follow the POV of 2 characters, Misaki, the mother, and her 14-year-old son, Mamoru. Misaki is a woman who is trying to forget her past in order to become this dutiful mom, this dutiful wife. And Mamoru is a 14-year-old boy who is being trained to become a soldier for the Kaigenese Empire. This book has all of the elements that I love in a fantasy story. The world building, the magic system are both amazing. It's very action-packed and the writing of the fight scenes is so good. Like at some point, I felt like I was just watching a movie in my head. And most importantly, and this is a theme that's going to come back in all of the books that I'm going to talk about today, writing of the characters is so good. I feel like it's very rare to get this perfect combo of world building, magic system, flawed, morally gray characters in a standalone. This is a standalone, not even a series. And I think that M.L Wang does a very good job in writing her characters, in writing this very tragic and emotional story in what it does to her characters. So I really, really love this book. There's a 50-minute video of me and at Sumo Reads talking about this book because this is a buddy read that I did with her, but it's in French. If you're interested, I'm gonna leave the link of that video in the description. Like, we talked about everything, all the characters, the world building, the magic system. It was very interesting, and I was very happy that I read that book with someone and I had the chance to just talk about it, because most of the times when I finish a very tragic fantasy, I just sit down and stare at the walls. The second book that I'm gonna talk about is Babel, or Babel, whatever you want to call it, by R.F Kuang. Now, if you know me in real life, you know how much I love this woman's writing. I will literally read anything she writes. Even though I feel like on book spaces, on social media, you either have people who really, really love her books or people who just hate her books. I never saw anyone having an in-between take. Even though I really love all her fantasy books, I wasn't a big fan of Yellowface, but that's a discussion for another video. So Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, is a historical fiction with very dark academia elements. We follow the story of Robin Swift, a Chinese boy who is brought to England by Professor Lovell in order to become a translator at Babel. This book has, in my opinion, one of the coolest magic systems I've ever read in fantasy. Basically, they use silver bars engraved with words, with one word in one language, and then its translation in another language. And since 2 words in different languages never mean the exact same thing, this gap and this difference creates the magic. I don't know if I explained it well, I'm sorry. That magic is then being used to empower everything in the British Empire, like weapons, buildings, machines, etc. So translators like Robin Swift and all the friends that he's gonna make at Oxford are very essential to the British Empire. And the whole system is tied to colonialism and control. This is a very powerful book about colonialism. My favorite thing, I told you it's going to come back in every book that I'm going to talk about today. My favorite thing about R.F Kuang's writing is how she writes her characters. Robin Swift, his relationship with Professor Lovell, with, I don't want to spoil so much. I don't want to spoil a lot of things. So I'm going to keep it vague. But his relationship with the other characters is very important. This is one of my favorite books of all times. And you're going to see and you're going to hear a lot of people tell you that it's very difficult. I did not find it difficult or very academic. It is dark academia. It is centered on in Oxford, so you're going to have a lot of dark academia themes in it. So if you love fantasy and dark academia, I think that this book is for you. We're staying with the same author, R.F Kuang, for my third favorite, and I am cheating a little here because this is a trilogy. So the 3 books count as one, I don't care. The Poppy War by R.F Kuang is a grimdark / military fantasy inspired by Chinese history. We follow the story of Rin, a war orphan who gets into an elite military academy called Sinagard through sheer determination, may I say. There she discovers that she has connections to ancient gods, and she's gonna discover that she has these dangerous and disturbing powers. This is a very, very heavy book. It's a military fantasy. It's a story about war, about the atrocities of war. It's not cute and it's not... I've seen people describe this as a romantasy. There's 0 romance in this trilogy, like none. This is a very, very tragic story, and again, it's the theme of the video, I feel. I love Rin, I love Kitai, I love Neja, I love all the characters in this book. They're all flawed, they're all morally gray and make questionable decisions. And this is what I love about R.F. Kuang's writing. She's able to write these flawed characters, but at the same time, you cannot help but root for them, even though they're doing like very, very bad things. So yeah, if you love military fantasy, I highly recommend that you check out The Poppy War. We're changing the mood a little bit for the 4th and I think the last book, because this is gonna be a long video. It's Funny Story by Emily Henry. I know, we went from one military fantasy, one historical fantasy, and another military fantasy to romance. I told you, I read everything. This is one of my favorite books, and hear me when I say it. I said one of my favorite books, not my favorite Emily Henry book, not my favorite romance book, but one of my favorite books of all time. A little backstory for this book. I remember in early 2025, like last year, I just finished The Burning God, the last book in the Poppy War trilogy, the one I was just talking about, and I was so sad and so depressed. If you read the books, you know. And I started to feel the reading slump slowly entering my brain and slowly entering my habit. So I decided to go back to my roots and just go to a bookstore and choose a book like solely on the cover and the resume. I never seen anyone talk about Funny Story on my FYP because I get a lot of fantasy and sci-fi recommendations on my FYP and never romance. I don't know why, maybe it's my fault. I also get historical fiction, even though I don't read a lot of historical fictions, but I interact with these videos, I save them. So that's why like TikTok or Instagram keeps recommending the same format. But I never seen anyone talk about Emily Henry Funny Story. And when I found this in the bookstore, I was like, okay, this was not my first Emily Henry book, by the way. I was already familiar with her. I read Book Lovers and People We Meet on Vacation, and I liked them. So I was like, okay, this is a romance of an author that I'm already familiar with. Let me pick this up. This is gonna be a cute palate cleanser. I'm gonna have fun before picking up another like fantasy or anything. And this was not a palate cleanser. This is a very cute romance. I will give it its flowers. The chemistry between Daphne and Miles is amazing. I loved it. But what I loved the most and why this book like became one of my favorite of all times is this connection that I had with the FMC. Daphne is one of my favorite Emily Henry FMCs simply because I feel like she mirrors me in a way. And this is what made like Funny Story one of my favorite books of all time. I always recommend it to people. Even if you don't read romance, please just read this book. So this is the end of the video. I have so many other books that I wanted to talk about, but it will end up, if we do that, it will end up being like a 1 hour long video, and I don't have the time to edit 1 hour long videos yet. So this is a very quick introduction of me as a reader. If you love reading fantasy, if you love reading sci-fi, please stick along, subscribe, and like this video. If you have any book recommendations that maybe fall under any of these categories, don't hesitate to leave a comment and recommend them in the comment section. Bye!